Hey, Shalom, Israel. First off, I'd like to say, Call Halal Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rahakudash. I'd like to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. Also, would like to say peace, blessings, and salutations to the hopeful elect, the Akim that's pushing his word, and all sincerity and faith throughout the four corners of the earth. For the few sincere sisters who rock with us that believe, Shalom to you as well as the other hopeful elect, the men, the women, and children of the 144,000 first and foremost, and then, the one third, the remnant that's set to be saved in the last days. I just want to come with a lesson in the midst of this whole campaign. It seems like Esau Edom is pretty much trying to make Jake the face of hatred and racism towards Moab and Ammon, which today they call them so-called Asians or whatever the case may be. People of the continent like a Far East Asia. But the point being made is that all through the spirit, Moab and Ammon, they've always been used as middle management between Esau and Jacob, the Israelites, man. Most of them are the ones benefiting off our people the most, serving their businesses and having our people as patrons to build them up, But they'll start this whole campaign and make Jake the face of hate towards them and this, that, and the third, which really going back to the scriptures, Ammon, which is the so-called Chinese, or Salakia, Ammon is the so-called Japanese, and Moab, the so-called Chinese, they were set up to be our servants. Just like our ancient forefathers had them as our servants. And of course, like we go into the scriptures, all nations are going to have to come up under the nation of Israel. But chiefly after Esau, Edom, and these Hamites, as I'm going to go into in the scriptures, Moab and Ammon are right there. So I'm going to just read some scriptures just to share some of the history between Israel and, the so-called Asian nations, Moab and Ammon. Like you got even Jake, some of our people caping and talking about we need to do more to help them when we haven't even been restored as a people. And just historically, Moab and Ammon, they haven't given a damn about the nation of Israel. They've always made confederation with Esau Edom to come up against us, man, and keep us from being a nation of people in power because they ultimately know that they was born to be our servants. But I'm going to just read some scriptures, Lord willing, this to edify. I'm going to start off here in Deuteronomy 23, and I'm going to start at the third verse. It says, "An Ammonite or a Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Even to their 10th generation shall they not enter into the congregation of the Lord forever, because they met you not with bread and with water in the way when you came forth out of Egypt. And because they hired against thee Balaam, the son of Beor of Pethor of Mesopotamia, to curse thee." So just going back to the Exodus out of Egypt, which we know that Babylon the Great, America, is spiritual Sodom and Egypt, like it tells you in Revelation, the 11th chapter. But going back out of ancient Egypt, when we were passing through, they didn't meet us hospitably with bread and with water. So they've always been for our downfall. These Moabites, these Moabites and these Ammonites, these so-called Asians, Chinese and Japanese, or whatever the case may be, they're not for our people. And they'll try to lump them in and classify them as minorities when it comes to like giving out certain benefits and aid and all of this different stuff. Now, I'm not against anybody, I guess on a political speaking side, getting what they're supposed to get, because that's what racist means. It means you pertain for your people, But I'm going to always justify and ride for my people getting what belongs to them. And ultimately, through the spirit of the Lord, all these other nations were set up to be servants to us, man. Because through the spirit, they were never with us anyway, and they understand the position. That's why all these nations, they hate to see Israel waking up. And these curses are being lifted off of us and being put on them. Because they've always tried to curse us. And in this example, it says they hired against thee Balaam, the son of Beor of Pethor of Mesopotamia, to curse thee. But it goes into the narrative that the Lord was with us and that curse turned into a blessing, man. You know? But the bottom line is you Moabites and you Ammonites, you've always been against us as well. Esau, Edom, he's at the top of the food chain as far as enemies is concerned. But you're not getting off the hook either, man. Because you always are trying to slide in on whenever the spotlight is capturing all of the injustices that's done to our people, and people are having to wake up and consider. You know, all these little insignificant nations want to try to slide in, man, want to weasel in. This is Psalms 83:1. It says a song or psalm of Asaph. It says, "Keep not thy silence, O power, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O power." It says, For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and have consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, Come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. And it says, For they have consulted together with one consent, they are confederate against thee. So this is what's happening in the grand scheme of things, Israel against all of these other nations. But in the context of the lesson, the subject at hand is Moab and Ammon. It's giving a roll call of these nations through the Spirit, you know. But Moab, the point being made that they're among that list. It says the tabernacles of Edom. So Edom, like I said, he's at the top of the food chain. And we know that the synagogue of Satan, that the top ruling class of Edom is Amalek, Salakia. It escaped me for I don't know how that was a demon. It almost escaped me. Amalek is always trying to escape through the ropes, but Amalek is the top of Edom, and it says in the Ishmaelites, the so-called Arabs of Moab, that's the so-called Chinese today, and the Hagarenes, and it's going into all of these Hamitic nations, Gabal and Ammon. That's who is the hot topic today, Moab and Ammon. You so-called Japanese, man. They still talking about, remember Pearl Harbor and on all of this different stuff, man. But no one wants to remember the atrocities that was committed against the Most High's people. It says, in Amalek. So Amalek, that's the chief house of the Edomites. It says the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. So these Hamitic nations, which would be so-called Africans today, which the Lord doth put a difference between Israel and the Egyptians, which are the so-called Africans. Not all so-called black people are of the same nation. The Africans, the so-called Africans, they're the children of Ham. Ham, Shem, and Noah. Those are the three, or Ham, Shem, and Japheth. Those are the three sons of Noah. The Israelites come out of Shem. And so does Moab and Ammon, as I'm going to go into, you know. But we have history. When you go into it, I'm going to go into it real quick. This is back in the Genesis, the 19th chapter, the 30th verse. It says, And Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountain, and his two daughters with him. So this is talking about when Lot was led out of Sodom and Gomorrah, when the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. You know, Lot, he survived, him and his two daughters. It says, For he feared to dwell in Zoar, and he dwelt in a cave, he and his two daughters. And the firstborn said unto the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come into, and there is not a man in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. So that's when the Lord had brought that destruction. And pretty much at that time, Lot and his daughters, you know, that was the inhabitation at that time in that region. It says, verse 32, it says, Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. So these are Lot's two daughters. You know, they're thinking, just like they've said, that there were no other men on the planet Earth. So they conspired a plan to get their father Lot drunk and then basically lay with him so they can preserve their father's seed. That's what they're thinking in their mind, which we know that's incest. You know, that's completely off against the scriptures. But these are the origins of the so-called Japanese and Chinese today, Moab and Ammon, like I'm going into. They're the children of Lot. It says, verse 33, and they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. And it came to pass on the morrow that the firstborn said unto the younger, behold, I lay yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go thou in and lie with him, that we may preserve the seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him. And he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. So incest. And here is the icing on the cake. Verse 37. It says, and the firstborn bare a son and called his name Moab. And the same, Salaki, it says the same is the father of the Moabites unto this day. So that's the firstborn son of Lot in one of his daughters. Moab is the firstborn son of the children of Lot. And it says, verse 38, and the younger she also bare a son and called his name Ben-Ami. The same is the father of the children of Ammon unto this day. So here are the origins of Moab and Ammon today. They're the sons of Lot through that demonic, incestuous, childbirth. But you know what they say about incest, baby? They always have these types of deformities. They're just not right, So that's why Moab and Ammon through the spirit, they just not right, man. They're little bug outs. They always want to do snap pictures and they can't drive, all of those stereotypes that they can't see really well, That's just what it is. It all goes back to their true biblical nationality, Moab and Ammon, like the scriptures talk about. And it was an account where I was going to go into with King David, with the Ammonites. Yeah, this is First Chronicles 19:1. It says, now it came to pass after this that Nahash, the king of the children of Ammon, died, and his son reigned in his stead. And David said, I will show kindness unto Hanun, the son of Nahash, because his father showed kindness to me. And David sent messengers to comfort him concerning his father. So the servants of David came into the land of the children of Ammon to Hanun to comfort him. But the princes of the children of Ammon said to Hanun, thinkest thou that David doth honor thy father, that he hath sent comforters unto thee? Are not his servants come unto thee for to search and to overthrow and to spy out the land? Wherefore Hanun took David's servants and shaved them and cut off their garments in the midst hard by their buttocks and sent them away. So in this account, Hanun, who was the predecessor, he succeeded the throne of his father, Nahash, who had favor with King David. He was over the kingdom of Ammon. He embarrassed David's servants. And of course, they went back to David and he told them that they had to grow their beard back. And then it ended up, the children of Ammon basically got prepared to go to battle with King David and his mighty men, and got conquered. But the point being made, Ammon all through the spirit, they know where they sit, versus the house of Israel. They know that they were set up to be washpots, and servants to the nation of Israel, just as Moab. I'm going to go into an account with Moab. This is 2 Samuel 8:1. It says, and after, I'll go to the point in verse 2. It says, and he smote Moab and measured them with a line. And this is talking about King David and his army. And it says, casting them down to the ground, even with 2 lines, measured he to put to death, and with 1 full line to keep alive. So pretty much just a complete domination mode over you Moabites, man. He had casualties of war. And then he had POWs, prisoners of war, the ones that were kept alive. And it says, and so the Moabites became David's servants and brought gifts. So it's been in our legacy to always rule and subdue Moab and Ammon, man, and have them as servants under our foot. And that's the time that we're coming into. And that's why Esau, Edom, they're trying to paint Jake, as the face of just hatred and racism towards, these Moabites and Ammonites. But they were set up to be under us as servants, just complete servants. They're perfect servants. This is Psalms 2:1. I'll read this and end out the lesson. It says, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? So right now, the heathen are raging. They've always raged against the Israelites. But now they see us coming back in our power, man. Through the elect, they see that we're repenting and putting on that flesh of rulership through the Spirit. We're coming back to who we truly are. And that the inheritance that awaits us. It says the kings of the earth set themselves and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. So all of these different nations, they always come together. Everyone has a seat in the UN except for the Israelites, So Moab and Ammon, they're not on our side. They include them and label them as minorities, so-called minorities, but they don't have no part in our struggle, man. They're not our people. They're heathens, And they're going to be under our foot in due time. Matter of fact, I'm going to jump down. This is Psalms 2:8. It says, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance in the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. And it says, thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. So that's what's going to happen in the kingdom to come. He that endureth unto the end, the Lord is going to give power of the nations, power over the nations. So these heathens, the hot topic today, Moab and Ammon, they're going to be perfect slaves and servants in the kingdom of heaven, man. So I'm not buying this whole campaign that everybody's coming up against them. Now they get to pull the victim card and basically try to jump us in the line, as far as the struggle and just any sign of any reparational benefits, which I don't care about that anyway. But, just for argument's sake, all these other nations, they're always trying to just play off of our struggle, man. But without further ado, Lord willing, this made sense and edified just the origins of Moab and Ammon. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Shalom, peace and blessings to the elect.